We are continuing to follow very closely these protests and riots. We're going to use those words interchangeably. There are protests and there are riots, so you don't have to correct us when we say protests. We're aware of both of these things, and protest is fine. And as we learned from Caroline Leavitt yesterday, it is a stupid question for anyone in the press to say it is President Trump. I like the way she handled that because that was just meant to be an insult. It's like, does President Trump believe in the Constitution? Like, yeah, idiot. Ask a real question. So I like the way that she handled that. That was great. Caroline Leavitt. You know, we were on the Leavitt train very early here. I'm just saying, we were on the Leavitt train when she was running for Congress, so we knew she was going to be a superstar, and here she is. But you had the press trying to make something of this, trying to make it seem like the American people aren't with the Trump administration efforts to enforce the law. And some very interesting things are going on with all this, with these riots, with these protests, all that stuff. First of all, I think on how this has gone over politically, former Democrat, this is cut 5, Batya Ungar-Sargon. We've talked about her before here. We had her on the show recently. Yeah, we had her on the show. She was on that CNN panel. The only thing worth watching at CNN, doesn't this tell you something, Clay, is the occasional center-right person, sometimes a centrist, sometimes truly right-wing, from Scott Jennings, Shermichael Singleton, Batya Ungar-Sargon, Ben Ferguson. The only thing worth watching is the conservative slapping around the libs at that table. Here is Batya talking about the deportations and the truth of what Trump promised. Play 5.
I hear this talking point a lot from Democrats that Donald Trump misled the American people and somehow said he was only going to deport violent criminals.
He said he was going to prioritize
at every single rally that I watched, he said, we are going to have the largest deportation operation in American history. And the reason he did that is because that position has majority support with the American people. And that position is what got him the majority of working class people. Because immigration is a topic that divides the working class from the elites. 100%. The elites are the consumers of low-wage labor. And when you guys say they're taking people from the community, what you mean is they're taking people from the workforce, people who undercut the wages of American workers, which is why the working class flipped from the Democrats to the Republicans.
Two important points she's making there, Clay. One, Trump promised the biggest deportation operations in history. Prioritizing the worst of the worst offenders doesn't give everyone else a pass in this. It's just, okay, yeah, we're going to focus on getting the, child molesters and, gang members with blood on their hands, get them out of the country who are illegal aliens first. So that's point one. Trump is doing exactly what he promised, which is why I keep saying, everyone says, who voted for Trump? Yeah, I voted for this. I voted for this. And the second part of it is just the exploitation of cheap labor and how central that is to the donor class, to the elites. And this brings me to, they're going to have to start enforcing fines against employers with this. They have to come at this from, which is going to be a little bit of a wake-up call, but it needs to happen. It is illegal if you are employing large numbers or any numbers of illegals in your business. You're not supposed to. Now, someone will say, but they have fake Social Security cards and they have fake. So it's a little more complicated. But for the worst offenders, you need to do some deterrence enforcement.
Yeah, and I do think that the degree to which illegal immigrants have incredibly detailed fake Social Security cards. You say, okay, well, how does that happen? I don't know how they get them made. But Social Security then gets paid money that never go out. So that is some element out there for people who say, okay, well, how does this happen? The money still goes in for payroll taxes, except the numbers are not necessarily getting matched. Now, sometimes my understanding is there is identity theft and fraud going on, and it's a complicated aspect. But, yes, that factors in. I thought this was interesting, too, because they tried to say for a long time, well, there's not actually riots going on in L.A. Remember, Brian Stelter went on CNN and he said, remember, it's very important to note that 99.9% of Los Angeles is having no issue at all. And meanwhile, yesterday, L.A. Mayor Karen Bass said the city has so much graffiti that the vandalism so extensive, they won't be ready for the World Cup next year. Listen to this cut because it definitely calls into question the talking point that this is a small issue of violent and illegal behavior. Cut 8.
The graffiti that is just blanketing a number of blocks has been extensive. We are 1 year away from the World Cup. This is about beautifying our city and bringing our city together. And so I am calling on business leaders, community leaders, faith leaders to come together downtown in the next few days to talk about how we are going to clean up the city. Obviously, city workers are already out there removing the graffiti, but this is so extensive, it's going to take community-wide involvement. We had launched a program called Shine LA a couple of months ago in preparation for the World Cup, and now we are called on to direct that citywide. We need people from all over the city to come to downtown and to help with this effort.
Okay, I got a crazy idea for you, Buck. Maybe the people who did the graffiti as a part of paying penance for their crimes should have to clean up the graffiti that they created instead of asking good people in Los Angeles who had nothing to do with this and LA area taxpayers to clean up the mess that they created and, frankly, that the mayor and the governor allowed to occur. Second part on this, I actually think Trump could come out and say, why does Los Angeles deserve to host the World Cup? I mean, there are lots of cities in red states that are not rioting. You live in Florida. There's a whole heck of a lot.
We'll talk about how Florida.
Yeah, we're going to play that cut in a sec from Ron DeSantis as governor. But there's a whole heck of a lot of places. I know some of these cities are already hosting the World Cup, but there are a lot of red states out there where I think Trump could say, why should you reward a city that wasn't able to keep itself from rioting with a World Cup host? You got a year away. There's a lot of stadiums where you could host games.
Well, I also think, as somebody who saw firsthand what a visual virus graffiti can be in New York, and this is, you go back to these movies, whether it's the Charles Bronson Death Wish movies or just I think Warriors with the gangs. I mean, all these different. There was just graffiti everywhere. And when I was a kid in the city, early 90s, there was in the nicest neighborhoods, there was graffiti everywhere, and it was a constant psychological menace of degradation, of barbarism. I know people say, oh, it's just no. It's destruction of property, it's lawlessness, it's criminality, and it's just a sign of the criminality that is constantly all around you. It is a visual reminder, the same way that masks during COVID were so important to the left because it was a visual reminder of who is in charge and your mandatory obedience, right? That's what it was. It was obedience training for the masses. When you have graffiti everywhere, it is the psychological, assault of you're in a lawless place. You're in a place where people don't respect property, where the authorities can't actually protect you. So I am so adamantly anti-graffiti as a thing. I do not take it lightly. I think that it gets worse and worse and worse in places that I know that it does because I see, and you can turn it around, but you got to be, to your point, you got to be harsh with people who do it. And one of the best ways to do it is, you know what? You can either go to prison or you can spend every weekend for the next 6 months cleaning up graffiti.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
And that absolutely is the way that it should be. But it also just goes to the mentality of these people who were involved in these. Because if it's all over the city, we're talking about a lot of people who are doing this, obviously, and they think that the laws don't apply to them.
And they're often right, unfortunately.
Well, I'm hoping that Trump is going to show that, at least when it comes to immigration, and I think he is showing this, and this is the whole point, the laws do apply to them. But I'm seeing more. I even saw somebody on Twitter suggesting this. Says, yeah, that's what I say. If these people, if you don't have to be legal in this country, I don't have to pay taxes. Increasingly, this has, and you can make the same arguments. My tax dollars do. I'm a nice person. I don't hurt anybody. But you don't need my taxes. The Treasury Department isn't going to go bankrupt without my taxes. You're going to lock me up. You're going to separate me from my family if I don't pay taxes. Same kind of arguments you can make about illegal immigration, except they're making it for tens of millions of people. But This is the same argument. I'm not hurting anybody. Well, but you're actually breaking the law, and you're making a choice to break the law.
I also think, Buck, the way that the far left is coming together on these rallies and these riots This cut we have here from Seattle. There are other cities where people are starting to riot. Listen, I don't know how well you'll be able to hear this, but SPD, Seattle Police Department, KKK, we all know what the KKK is, Ku Klux Klan, and then the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, they're all the same. This is a chant right now that's going on in Seattle. This is part of their worldview on the left, connecting all these different aspects of the world. Listen to cut 4.
Who street? Our streets! Who street? Our streets! Who street? Our streets! F SPD!
Okay, not necessarily the easiest slogan to chant, but Buck, this is indicative of the global worldview that they are trying to bring together. We'll talk about this a bit more. We also have an unbelievable woke white protester that we're going to play for you from New York City. We'll hit that as well.
There's news of a data breach, a massive one, involving AT&T customer records. Nearly 90 million previously breached customer records have been repackaged and are for sale on the dark web once again. The exposed data posted on a Russian cybercrime forum includes full names, social security numbers, addresses, phone numbers, and emails. If these records are exploited, cybercriminals can commit identity theft against so many people, including you. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity theft are affecting our lives, and you need to know how to protect your online identity. LifeLock is your first step in that. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for risks to your identity. LifeLock detects and alerts you to potential identity threats you may not spot on your own, like crimes committed by thieves pretending to be you. If you do become a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Get your online identity protected before it's too late. Join now and save 40% off your first year with my name, Buck, as your promo code. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go online to lifelock.com and use promo code BUCK for 40% off.